I hope you're doing well, my friends. So, there's some pretty big political drama coming out of New Jersey that I think is worth diving into. It's the kind of story that makes you wonder about politics, privacy, and just how messy campaigns can get. We're talking about Democratic candidate Mikie Sherrill, her unredacted military records being released, and how this whole situation has suddenly shaken up the governor's race. Let's get into it. So here's what happened. The National Archives admitted that, during a routine Freedom of Information Act request, they accidentally released Mikie Sherrill's full military records without redacting sensitive details. That means personal information like her social security number and date of birth ended up out there. The archives later said it was a mistake and that the requester shouldn't share or spread that information any further. But here's the thing, Mikie Sherrill and her campaign aren't buying the oops, sorry explanation. They're saying this feels less like an error and more like a political hit job. And honestly, that raises a question. If personal records can be accidentally leaked like this, what does that say about the systems that are supposed to protect people's information, especially public officials? Do you think it's just incompetence, or is there sometimes more at play? Now, the records themselves didn't just have her private details. They also reopened an old chapter of her past, something from her time at the Naval Academy back in the 1990s. Sherrill had a strong Navy career overall, even being recognized in 1991 for saving a fellow midshipman's life. But in 1994, there was a massive cheating scandal involving over 130 cadets. Sherrill wasn't directly implicated in the cheating, but she also didn't report classmates who were involved. Because of that, she was barred from walking at her graduation ceremony. Still, her actual graduation and commission dates stayed the same, which her team says proves the Navy didn't view it as something that should stain her record. Now here's where politics comes into play. Her opponent, Republican Jack Ciattarelli, jumped on this and accused her of concealing her role in the scandal. He's demanding she release her full academic, disciplinary, and investigative records to prove she has nothing to hide. So now it's not just about a government records mix-up. It's also about whether Sherrill is being fully transparent, or whether her past is fair game in this campaign. So let me ask you, do you think a decades-old incident like this should matter in a modern election? Or should voters focus more on her policies today and not something from her time at the Academy nearly 30 years ago? Sherrill, for her part, is pushing back hard. She's saying she feels like this was done on purpose and that she more than suspects nefarious intent behind the release. She's also accusing her opponent and even the Trump administration of weaponizing the government against her. That's a heavy accusation. And it makes you wonder, how often do political campaigns cross the line between fair opposition research and invading someone's privacy? On the flip side, the archives insists it really was just a mistake. No bad intentions, just an administrative slip. But if that's the case, how could something as sensitive as unredacted military records, with personal details like social security numbers, get through their process? If you were in Sherrill's shoes, would you feel reassured by that explanation? Or would you see it as part of something bigger? What's also interesting is how different people are framing this. Democrats are rallying around Sherrill, calling it outrageous and even demanding criminal investigations. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries went as far as praising Sherrill's service and saying this kind of breach is unacceptable. Meanwhile, Republicans are using the moment to pressure her for more transparency. So depending on which side you're on, you either see her as the victim of a dirty political tactic or as someone who might not be telling the whole truth about her past. And then there's the bigger question of how voters react. For some, this whole thing could actually boost Sherrill if people see her as a victim of government overreach. But for others, especially undecided voters, even the shadow of controversy might be enough to raise doubts. And let's be real, when you're running in a tight race, doubts can be dangerous. So what do you think? Does this make Sherrill look stronger, like someone standing up against an unfair system, or weaker because opponents can frame her as hiding something? At the end of the day, this controversy might not just be about Sherrill or even this particular governor's race. It touches on bigger issues like how much trust we should put in the systems that hold our most personal information, and whether mistakes like this are really just mistakes or something more intentional. And with the election heating up, one thing's for sure. This won't be the last we hear about it. Both campaigns are going to keep pressing their narrative, and voters will have to decide which story they believe. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and talking through this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think this was just an accident by the archives, or do you think Mikie Sherrill is right to suspect foul play? And do you think old controversies like the Naval Academy scandal should matter in a race for governor today? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because I'm really curious to see where you stand on this. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next update. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.